Today we're looking at Colorverse Proxima B. Hi, I'm Adam and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Colorverse Proxima B is a blue-black ink. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I put the ink into a different pen for a day. I then put it into a Noodler's Ahab with a modified flex nib to take my notes for this video. Before we get to the writing samples, let's look at the sciencey bits. Up first is the chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see this light gray, pushing up. We see a darker blue come in, and interesting across the top, we see the faintest hint of this kind of greenish tone right at the line. It's very cool. You don't see green too often show up in your blue blacks. The one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. Now what we see is that very dark gray line stayed, but the green stayed also. Look how you see the dark gray, but you see the green above, and the blue is pushing on past, making the green that traveled the farthest one of the ones that stayed. Scary. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on a page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pen. Now I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, because of that lowercase h, I would not use this. That lowercase h is blooming completely out. It's getting completely blown out. I would be afraid that I'm going to lose anything important in my writing. Now, it's surprising to me that it blew out as much as it did when we look at what water did. Water only moved some of the darkest tones around. It left all of those dark grays, it left the greens, it left a bunch of the blues. Water didn't have a lot of effect, only on the ink that's kind of sitting on ink, if that makes some sense. Pen flush did a whole lot more than water. However, while it got rid of all the blues and it got rid of that kind of green that's there, that grayish tone that was across the bottom of the chromatography is still very much there, and it's not really moving. This makes me wonder if it's going to take the 1/3 bleach solution. 1/3 bleach solution did completely remove this from the paper. Now, if you have to use a 1/3 bleach solution to get this out of your pen, you put it in quickly, get it out quickly, and then start rinsing the pen with water just to not let the bleach rust any metal parts. For the inks I've tested, I've found an average viscosity of 2.5, with a realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Colorverse Proxima B has a viscosity of 2.4, making it normal. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done with the extra fine and medium nib on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. Now let's look at the writing samples. I picked this ink up in sample form, and there's not a lot left of it. Yeah. To keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub. Here we go. A Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. And it's not focusing. It's alright. You're going to have to take my word on that. There it is. Let's take a look at the Clairefontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen. It has only one spot of shade. It's that blue all the way through, and it starts to work towards a black on the crossing of the X in Proxima. That's the only spot of shading that I see with the 1.1. We get to the extra fine, the base tone is slightly darker than we got with the 1.1. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo, sheen. It has very nice shading throughout. We get a lot of the blues and a lot of the blacks. Very, very nice. This is what's nice about blue-black. The starts with the blue, turns to black, turns to blue at the top, black at the E. Quick starts with blue, works its way to black at the K. Brown starts very dark, works its way lighter. Fox starts very blue, works to black at the X. Nice shading throughout. 11 seconds to dry. The medium is a darker tone, a much darker blue, but it's not black. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and beautiful shading, like the starts light, becomes very dark. Quick starts light, becomes very dark at the I. Brown starts dark and works its way lighter and then becomes darker again. Fox starts light and becomes dark. Beautiful stuff. This is why I like blue-black inks. It's one of my favorite colors. 16 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine and the medium, it doesn't show as well on camera, but in person we see plenty of color variation from left to right. From left to right, we see it. Not so much on camera. And we see it in a writing sample. And the smear test, you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Tomoe River. No bleeding. We get ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. I'm wondering if that's even a one. That's an extra fine. That's not 1.1. That's an extra fine. I must have messed up while I was writing. It happens. That's not a 1.1. The extra fine down below, same exact tone because it's the same exact nib. No feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 16 seconds to dry. The medium is a much darker tone, but it's still blue. It's a very, very dark blue. Doesn't cross into that black. It is got no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 24 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine and the medium show no color variation. We don't expect it. We didn't get it. And the smear test, you could not recover if you smeared while you were writing. Rhodia, no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1, nice light blue. Very dark blues in some of the shade spots. No feather, spread, halo, sheen. We have shade spots like the S to E in Colorverse. Nice, light to dark. The top of the C in Colorverse is much darker than the rest of the C. The crossed X on Proxima is much darker. So nice, we get some ability to shade there. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo, sheen. It has nice shading throughout. As a tone, it is quite a bit darker than the 1.1. The shading shows itself within the. Starts light, becomes dark. Quick starts as a nice mid-tone, gets very dark. Brown starts dark and gets light. Fox starts light and gets dark. And it's beautiful. It's going to a very, very dark and sometimes black. So a very, very dark blue and sometimes black. Nice. 12 seconds to dry. Now the medium is a much darker tone. Because it's such a dark blue, when it crosses into black in spots, it's almost unnoticeable. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and because of that, really no color variation at all, no shading. 17 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine shows us some color variation when we look far left to far right, and we got that up in the writing sample. The medium shows us none, and we really didn't get any. The smear test, you could definitely recover this if you smeared while you were writing. So I like to see what happens with the ink with different tone backgrounds. So we tried yellow Rhodia. It had no bleeding or ghosting, which is expected. It's still Rhodia paper. Now this is a strong ink because it does not change when we look at the 1.1 or the extra fine, but we do see some tone changes on the medium. It lightens up the tone on the medium. It's nice. It's good to know before you start out. The 1.1 is no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shading came through here. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and some spots of shading, not as much as we saw with the with the white paper. Spots of shading. The tone is slightly darker than the 1.1. The spots of shading are like the H in the is a bit darker, the K in quick, the B in brown, the P in jumps. Spots of darker writing. It doesn't cross to that being black though. 12 seconds to dry. The medium is a much darker tone and it's not the same kind of blue. Not the same kind of blue. Pretty nice.
Now on the white paper we saw no color variation at all. On here, the medium, we get no feather spread, halo sheen, and we do see more of the shading come across because of the yellow paper. Like on quick, it goes as a nice dark tone, it gets very dark on the K. The HE is very dark compared to the T. In jumps, it starts light, it gets very dark as it moves across. Over starts as a mid-tone, gets very dark. But we see very distinctly the color variation is there more than we had with the white paper. 17 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine and the medium the extra fine shows some color variation that we got. The medium, not so much on camera, but in person you do see far left to far right. Let's see. Yeah, you can see a little bit, like a tone of difference from far left to far right of the medium. It's very subtle. It is there. We do see color variation in the writing sample more than we see in the smear or in the scrubby. The smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Life paper, no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shading at all. The extra fine is a slightly darker tone. It has no feather spread, halo sheen. It does offer some shading, like H in the, K in quick, the Q in quick, the BR in brown, or the X in fox. All of those are a bit lighter than the rest of the words. It's nice. 11 seconds to dry. The medium is a much darker blue. It's a very, very dark blue, but we never see any of the black show up in here. The medium has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no color variation. It stays a very dark blue the whole way through. 14 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine shows some color variation, and we did get some color variation. The smear test shows, the scrubby of the medium shows none, and we got none. The smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Franklin Christoph, no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a noticeably darker tone with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. 5 seconds to dry. The medium is a way darker tone with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. 7 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it and we didn't get it. And the smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. That is all that I have for the writing sample.
Instead of finding inks that look like Colorverse Proxima B, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. Now that kind of greenish that was there, with this being a blue-black, I wanted a brown, but that green made me want a yellowish brown. I chose Diamine Sepia. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Colorverse Proxima B? This has a lot of properties that I really like in how it works. It shows why I like blue blacks so much. It's blue with black as its other tones in its writing. It's neither blue or black. It's both together, which is one of the things I love when blue blacks do that. I don't like them to be just blue or just black. This one does it. Now my notes that I took in with the Noodler's Ahab with the modified flex, it really brought a lot of attention. Anywhere I was putting down more ink in the curves of my writing, I was getting buildup on the side and it would be black, but the rest of that part of the writing would be blue. Gorgeous. Thanks for watching.